Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. Today, we're going to be checking out aura911.com.
Okay.
It's a website created by Rositza Ivanova.
Interesting.
And huge thanks to Rositza, by the way, for making such interesting and practical information accessible in so many languages.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
You can translate her articles just by clicking a little green globe icon at the bottom of each page.
Oh, wow.
It's really amazing.
Yeah.
So the source material we're looking at today dives into some pretty big questions about death consciousness,
Yeah.
even the cosmos.
Oh, wow.
We'll be exploring some of the ideas of Matthias de Stefano,
Okay.
and he shares his perspective on things like past lives, alien encounters, and even the potential impact of humanity on other dimensions.
That sounds pretty out there.
It is. It's pretty fascinating. And his insights really challenge us to reconsider our assumptions about reality.
I'm intrigued. Let's hear more.
Okay, so Matthias's work, like one of the most striking things about his work, is his view on death. And his near-death experience on an airplane seems to have completely transformed his understanding of mortality.
You know, I think most people will be terrified in that situation.
Totally. Like I would be.
But he describes feeling more concerned about being late than about dying.
I read that too.
Yeah.
That's wild.
He attributes this fearlessness to his memories of past lives.
Hmm.
He sees death not as an end, but as a transition, a shift in consciousness.
Right.
He even says that remembering past lives can help us see death as a mere inconvenience.
That's a pretty big shift in perspective.
Definitely.
To view death not as something to fear, but as a natural part of some continuous cycle.
Right. And it raises some interesting questions about the nature of consciousness and the possibility that our awareness goes beyond just this one lifetime.
Yeah, I mean, does our awareness extend beyond this single lifetime?
Exactly.
So Matthias also believes that death gives meaning and purpose to life. He argues that because we're mortal, everything we do is more significant.
It's like knowing our time is limited makes it all the more precious.
Yes. And, this resonates with this ancient belief that death isn't the ending but a beginning. It's a transition to another realm of existence.
Right. We're not just talking about reincarnation here. We're talking about a broader concept of moving from one state of being to another.
Right. We see this reflected in the work of authors like Don Miguel Ruiz. He suggests that our physical existence is a preparation for an everlasting life.
It's a beautiful thought that what we experience here is just a prelude to something much grander.
I like that.
It challenges us to rethink how we relate to death.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe death is a doorway to a more expansive way of being.
I mean, that would be pretty cool.
Do what?
All right, so let's talk about another concept that Matthias explores.
Okay.
The nature of life itself.
Okay.
He talks about a conversation that he had with what he calls darkness.
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 Yeah.
Where he learned that life originated as a beautiful mistake. A beautiful mistake. What does that even mean?
I know. It's like, tell me more.
Okay, so according to Matthias, before life existed, everything was pure light, moving so rapidly that it was perceived as a void.
So it was like a blank canvas.
Yeah, exactly. And it was darkness that disrupted this uniformity.
Oh.
It introduced shadows and shapes.
So darkness is what gave birth to life as we know it.
It's like darkness acted as this catalyst for creation.
That's pretty mind-blowing.
Right. It's like a force that shaped the raw energy of light into the diverse forms of life that we see around us.
So in a way, darkness isn't the opposite of light, but its protector.
That's what he's saying. And that darkness shields life from this potentially destructive power of pure, unbridled light.
It's like how the Earth's atmosphere protects us from the sun's radiation.
Exactly.
Wow, that's a powerful image. It really challenges our typical ideas about light and dark, good and evil.
Yeah, it's like this more nuanced view of reality, where opposing forces actually work together to create balance and harmony.
I'm really starting to see how Matthias's ideas challenge our assumptions about the world.
Me too. And that brings us to another fascinating concept.
Okay.
Past lives.
Past lives. I've always been curious about that.
Matthias describes past lives as energy flowing from one form to another,
Okay.
like water changing states, from ice to water to steam,
Okay.
but always remaining H2O at its core.
So it's not about separate, distinct lifetimes, but rather different expressions of the same energy or consciousness.
Exactly. And he connects this to the concept of the fifth dimension, a realm where all possibilities exist at the same time.
The fifth dimension. Now that sounds complicated.
Can you break that down for me? What does he mean by the fifth dimension?
Well, imagine a reality where time isn't linear, where the past, present, and future all exist at once.
Whoa!
That's how he describes the fifth dimension.
So it's not a physical place, but a state of consciousness where we can access all of our being's potential.
It's like tapping into this huge library of experiences and knowledge that transcends our current perception of time and space. And what's even more interesting is that he says some beings in the fifth dimension still remember their physical existence, and they can communicate with us.
He even claims to have channeled these entities in ancient temples and pyramids.
Really?
He describes those locations as energetic portals that allow communication with beings from other realms.
That's where things get a little tricky for me. Channeling can be risky. We need to be careful about these claims.
Oh, yeah. Matthias acknowledges the potential dangers, too. He emphasizes the need to be careful and discerning about the entities we connect with.
It's not all sunshine and rainbows, right?
Right. He even describes feeling fear and heaviness when he encounters certain energies. So maybe not all these beings are good or have our best interests in mind.
So it's a mixed bag out there.
Yeah. It makes you wonder about humanity's potential role as a kind of a virus impacting other dimensions.
A virus.
A virus. He suggests that our collective actions, thoughts, emotions can ripple outward, affecting not just our reality, but other realms of existence as well.
It's like we could be spreading negativity throughout the cosmos.
Right. Like a virus infecting a host.
That raises some serious questions about our responsibility as a species.
Right. If humanity can act as a virus, can we also be a force for good? Can we learn to consciously direct our energy to create a more balanced and harmonious reality?
Yeah.
For ourselves and for the universe as a whole?
Those are big questions, and I think we need to keep exploring them as we delve deeper into Matthias's ideas.
Totally. I'm ready to keep going.
Let's do it. Okay, so if our actions can really impact other dimensions, how do we make sure we're a positive force?
Right. That's the big question.
Yeah.
And Matthias believes stories play a huge role.
Stories?
Yeah. He argues that stories shape our subconscious, and that ultimately influences our behavior.
Okay. I can see that.
He points to the biblical story of Cain and Abel as a prime example of a harmful narrative that's permeated human consciousness.
Like jealousy and violence.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He suggests that the jealousy and violence between the brothers in that story reflect this kind of destructive pattern.
And we keep playing it out.
Yeah, in our individual and collective lives.
I see what you mean.
So it's interesting because he doesn't just complain about the impact of the story.
Right.
He offers a solution.
Okay.
He thinks we can repair these harmful narratives by consciously choosing to tell different stories.
Oh, interesting.
Stories that emphasize cooperation, generosity, striving for a higher ideal.
So changing the narrative.
Yeah, and he even goes so far as to say that the first law of the universe is mentalism.
Mentalism.
Meaning our minds create everything.
So if we want to change the world, we need to start with the stories we tell ourselves.
Exactly.
Thinking like that.
And what I find fascinating is how he applies this concept not just to these big mythic narratives, but to everyday stories that we just take for granted.
Oh.
Like he uses the example of the calendar.
The calendar.
Yeah, he points out that it's based on an ancient Roman system of taxation.
Huh. I never thought of it that way.
Yeah, it's like we're still unconsciously operating within these frameworks that were designed to limit us.
Even in something as simple as how we measure time.
Exactly. And it makes you wonder what other stories we're just blindly accepting.
Right, without questioning where they came from or how they affect us.
Yeah, Matthias encourages us to be skeptical, to reevaluate even our most basic assumptions.
Okay, but with all this talk about humanity's impact on other dimensions, it's easy to feel overwhelmed.
I know you mean.
Especially with this asteroid Apophis coming so close to Earth in just 4 years.
I know.
What practical steps can we take to navigate these uncertain times?
Right. So Matthias suggests that instead of trying to control external events, we should focus on aligning with our own internal rhythms.
Okay.
Like instead of just adhering to these external structures, he proposes that we find our own right time.
Our own right time.
Yeah. He talks about celebrating birthdays as like personal New Year's and marking the solstices and equinoxes as opportunities for collective harmonization.
Interesting.
It's like reclaiming our power by consciously choosing how we experience time.
I see. So it's about shifting our focus from external control to internal alignment.
Exactly. And that leads to another important concept.
What's that?
Responsibility.
Okay.
But he doesn't see responsibility as like blindly following rules.
Right.
It's more about bringing joy to every action.
Bringing joy to every action.
Yeah, becoming the answer through conscious choice. He uses this phrase, Hustly nada.
Hustly nada.
It's a combination of holy and nothingness.
Interesting.
And he envisions people gathering during the solstices and equinoxes
Okay.
and creating a space of emptiness
Emptiness.
where new possibilities can emerge through sound and vibration.
It's like creating a blank canvas for the universe to work its magic.
Yes. And I see it as a call to cultivate inner stillness, a space of pure potential where we can connect with a deeper wisdom and tap into our creative power.
It reminds me of what he said about becoming the storm.
Right.
Not trying to control it, but surrendering to the flow of energy and allowing it to move through us.
It's about recognizing that we're not separate from the forces of nature.
We're part of something much larger.
Yes.
Yeah.
But with so much negativity and fear in the world, how do we cultivate that sense of surrender and openness?
Good question.
Matthias believes that approaching life with playfulness, curiosity, and delight actually shifts our frequency.
Our frequency.
Yeah, raises our vibration.
Oh, okay.
And makes us more receptive to positive energies.
So it's like choosing to focus on the beauty and wonder even amidst the chaos.
Exactly. And that brings us to a story shared by one of Aura911.com's readers.
Oh, okay.
A woman named Holly.
Holly.
Yeah. She describes a series of synchronicities that led her to Matthias's work.
Interesting.
She talks about feeling this deep resonance with his message, experiencing profound physical sensations, and even receiving unexpected financial abundance
Wow.
that allowed her to attend one of his events.
That's incredible.
Her story is a really powerful example of synchronicity
Yeah.
and the idea that we're all connected to something larger than ourselves.
And it speaks to the potential for magic in our lives.
Right.
When we open ourselves to the flow of the universe.
Yeah, one detail I found really interesting is that Holly mentions having a reputation for conjuring storms
Conjuring storm.
and bringing rain. And Matthias responds by saying that she doesn't control the storm. She becomes the storm.
She becomes the storm.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful metaphor for our relationship with the forces of nature. It suggests that we can embody those forces, become one with the energy of the universe.
Just like we can be rainmakers,
Rainmaker.
creating positive change by aligning ourselves with the flow of life and allowing our unique gifts to blossom.
I love that. And that's where Matthias offers this really thought-provoking insight. He reminds us that we're all drops in the ocean, interconnected and interdependent. Some of us might create currents while others contain those currents, but we're all essential to this vast dynamic dance of life. It's a lot to take in.
I know it is.
But it's also really inspiring.
Right. As we kind of wrap up this deep dive into the ideas of Matthias de Stefano, what stands out to you as the most impactful takeaway?
I think for me, it's that reminder that we're not just passive observers, we're active participants in this cosmic dance of life.
We're in the game.
Yeah, our choices, our stories, even our vibrations can ripple outwards, not just in our own lives, but maybe even across dimensions.
It's a lot of responsibility,
It is.
but also it's incredibly empowering.
Yeah,
We're not just cogs in a machine.
right.
We're creators. We have the potential to shape reality.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be about these huge gestures or heroic acts.
Yeah.
You know, Matthias encourages us to find joy in the little things, to embrace the beauty and wonder of just existing and trust that we're all connected to something much bigger than ourselves.
And he reminds us that we have the potential to be rainmakers,
Rainmaker.
creating positive change just by aligning ourselves with the flow of the universe and letting our own unique gifts shine.
I love that imagery. And, you know, he encourages us to look at the stories we tell ourselves,
Yeah.
to question our assumptions and be open to new possibilities.
You know, Matthias also talks about bringing death close.
Death.
Yeah, not as something to fear, but as a wise advisor. A constant reminder to live fully in each moment.
Like a memento mori.
Exactly. What if we embrace death not as an end, but as a catalyst for truly living?
That's deep. What would we do differently if we really took that to heart?
Like, what stories would we choose to tell? What impact would we want to make? How would we live if we knew we only had a limited amount of time?
Those are questions worth asking ourselves.
They are. And as you explore them, remember you're not alone. We're all in this together. Interconnected drops in this vast ocean of consciousness.
All co-creating this beautiful and mysterious reality.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Matthias de Stefano.
It's been a wild ride.
It has. We encourage you to keep exploring these ideas, to question, to discover, and to create your own unique symphony
Yeah.
in this cosmic dance of life.